Greetings, all. I am Vanna, and welcome to Vibes with the Archive.
And I'm Kymmy, and today's episode will be on soul contracts and other related soul informations. So, first up, we have walk ins. So, a walk in is a part of your natal chart, which we went over in our earlier episodes. Um, we have here that if you originally have in place, if you've taken on a huge amount of workload in one lifetime, that you've incarnated, then you will have different walk-in points, and it's almost like having a understudy, and is in some cases like you've dropped a course because you've taken on too much workload in a semester. So an understudy or another soul will agree to walk in or soul shift or soul swap with you, and it's usually uh, for folks under the age of 30 and more so commonly under the age of 15. You've noticed that a lot of the lessons were hard on you, or of course, there's the opposite where the universe needs you for another job and your understudy will tag team in. And yeah, so Vanna, what else do you feel on walk-ins?
There was something that you just mentioned about the time frame and like the ages where these walk-ins occur, and I was kind of just thinking it kind of lines up with what we and our egos determine as midlife crisis or teenage rebellion phases, where a lot
Yep.
of our personalities shift. And that is very interesting because these walk ins are just, in some instances, very strong ego deaths, where maybe it's not even a different soul, but a different aspect of your higher self, because the soul that embodies this vessel, at the very least in my belief and understanding, is only a fraction of your higher self. You'll take like a quarter piece of that and it'll incarnate into this vessel with the course load, as you were speaking of,
Yes.
and information like the syllabus of what this lifetime wants to go through. Another moment where these soul walk-ins may occur outside of these like personal timeline events like the teenage rebellion or the midlife crisis
Mhm.
is near death experiences. There was a Netflix documentary that I watched that was very fascinating. I believe it was called Life After Death. And in this like six-part documentary series, we were able to speak with mediums and energetic healers, people that had people step in to their physical vessel to work through them to heal pain or to deliver a message. But in one of the instances, the woman talked about a near death experience that she had where she saw like the death of her oldest child, and she carried on for years at that the child at the time was like 9 years old, and she didn't believe that he was going to make it to 20. And so that carried on through the rest of her life, and like when he made it to like 25, she felt this relief that maybe she was wrong in that, but the young man did end up passing due to an accident. But there are a lot of people, and especially in that documentary series, that when they had those near death experiences and they came back from it, there were so many that said they were physically different. And the walk-ins could very well be one of the strong reasons for that. Another reason I believe is because that soul got a refresh of the deep source connection. That's how I personally refer to the omnipotent godly being that we all send our energy to. It's just source. That's what I call it personally. But
Yes.
that when they come back into the physical vessel, because their soul is more awakened and aware, this world feels so much more painful. They have an ego death in that They no longer resonate with what they once resonated with. They no longer enjoy with what they once enjoyed because they feel the emptiness of that. And it could be for either of those things, that this literally is a different entity embodying the same vessel, or it's the same entity, just more developed and aware. So the walk ins create this very interesting dynamic of what happens to our soul when we step out. It is very interesting.
It is true. Like after you walk out, you get to either you've been signed up for something already that you agreed to and reincarnate, or you get some time off to like cleanse yourself and like because it's hard here and you go to a healing and you heal inside of source and take your time and decide before you move on to the next life, or you can go and create your own universe yourself, um especially if it's one of your last contracts, um and you can change your soul contract at any time too. You don't need to have a walk-in. You can just be like, you want to know what? I can't do it on hard mode anymore. And it will adjust to you as you go. You can turn the difficulty settings up and down as you go along. And it's based off your frequency and what you think you need to do, you deserve. Like if you're constantly working and your inner self feels like you need to work hard in order to, receive anything, then, it adjusts to your specifications, your headset. Um, but like you were saying, with the like, you can have it where there is sometimes where there's the fractions of the souls, as you were saying. Um, that sometimes when you're going through a lot of rough stuff, your soul will sit outside of the body because it knows that it needs to continue doing it. And you once you like welcome it back in after the hard times and hardships, because sometimes you can reject yourself, right? It's almost like um a a transplant, not sticking. Um, Sometimes the soul doesn't, stick. And sometimes that's during the birth stage, and sometimes that's later on. And your soul won't give up on you. Sometimes it knows that it just can't be inside of the body with it feeling like that, but it knows that it still doesn't want to give up on you. So it'll wait for your until you've healed enough to call back in that soul fragment.
It just reminded me of something that I'm not sure if I shared this with you when I discovered this, but my mom and I have recently found a connection to my grandfather Jack, who she only had one conversation with, and she didn't really know that it was her father at the moment. And my elder brother, who passed before I was born, he was actually born in October. There was a going into soul contracts and things that bring us together in lifetimes. There was an understanding that we have that my grandfather Jack reincarnated as my brother Rocky to be with my mom and deliver a painful message of love. Little Rocky was born with hydrocephalus, so he had fluid of his spinal cord stuck in his brain. And
Yeah.
he was born blind and deaf and had so many issues. And my grandfather was also schizophrenic. So that kind of ties into not being able to see and hear properly in that lifetime and seeing and hearing too much in his previous lifetime. But we actually had a incredible experience where my grandfather spoke through my mother directly to me. And like I was just talking about with the life after death mediums, that someone steps in and speaks through them. I didn't realize what was happening exactly until he said a certain thing. My mom picked up this phrase, ditto kiddo, whenever we were talking, and she just agreed with me. It was very affectionate, but she said that with his voice through her vessel, and I realized that that was my grandfather every time she said that. And then when the realization came that little Rocky, who was just nothing but love and left this scar on my mother's heart because she's constantly blamed herself for his end, even though it wasn't her fault at all. There was this incredible healing opportunity in the understanding that my grandfather couldn't love her in his lifetime, so he came back to love her in another lifetime and teach her a form of unconditional love that carried through the rest of my life because she didn't have to pick up and love my brother Brandon. That wasn't her birth son. And because of the scar that little Rocky left in her heart, she had a place of love to give to someone else. And so these divine and karmic contracts that come across our path, they are not always awful things. Often they can be. We run
Oh,
into people of past lives in this incarnation that may have been an enemy in our past life, and they are a lover in this one because there is something that we have to solidify or something that we have to fix. Or in some instances, with my mom and someone in her soul contracts, that there wasn't supposed to be a
yeah.
rekindling in this lifetime, but due to free will, there was, and that created a further chain reaction of things. But in our energy work, we've also been able to do a lot of cutting ties and releasing of those contracts. It is very fascinating and also slightly terrifying at the realization of the impacts of your own actions in this world. But that isn't to fearmonger and be like, "Oh, I can't do this because I might have to pay for that in another lifetime." And I would say simply do your best
You
until
don't
you
have.
know better.
Not every lifetime. You pick which lifetimes. You can skip lifetimes and have a break because you had a hard one. You don't have to do it back to back. It doesn't work like that. Spirit's not like, "Oh, you got to pay right now." That's cuz that's religion. Um
Facts.
so you decide. Your soul decides. Just like with Anubis with like be may your heart be lighter than a feather. Even if it's not, you still decide what you think you should learn in the next life in order to achieve that. Like with what Vanna was saying, like you have divine and karmic um soul ties and soulmates and twin flames. Like you can have a divine one and a karmic one. I think for most part, a lot of people don't jive with the new term. Ooh, excuse me, confirmation. Don't jive with the new term, twin flame. But I think everyone's their own twin flame because we have our divine and we have our masculine and our feminine sides. Both of us, yin and yang. We are complete. It is a full circuit. We just have extra contracts. Now we have a main contract that we're going to do, and then we have side quests. Our twin flames is the main quest. What we try to, and it doesn't always happen. You don't do the main quest in every single video game. You don't have to complete the main quest. You can do all the side quests. You could finish half of the side quests. And that's what your soul contract is about, hitting most of the points. And when you have things like retrogrades in your contract, like I do, that means that you've already accomplished those in your other parallel lives and it's crossed off, and they're like, don't worry about that, worry on the other things. Like Vanna was saying, though, you have free will and you can change it at any time. It is not set in stone, it is a changing contract. It's like you can't you reconvene at certain points in your life, and you have a sit down with the source, and you're like, hey, how are you doing down there? And you're like, this is BS. Can we fix some of this? And they're like, oh, sorry. Okay, hey, let's get this fixed. Let's get this fixed up. And they're like, are you doing the work down there too? And you're like, yeah, I'm doing the work. And then you do the work. You do the work. Things are gonna work out for you. You know, even if karmic lessons are very important too. This lifetime, like she said earlier, Vanna, about not being here. I did that myself this time. I was not supposed to meet my ex that I had for 10 years. And we had met in the past life, and well, I killed him because he had, and I think I said in the last episode about the other lives, but he had put me up and accused me of something. I was on trial, and I knew he just wanted to take my daughter away because he was creepy. So I broke away and grabbed one of the guns and shot him in the face. So in this lifetime, he like was he really liked hitting me in the face. So, you know, uh, it goes around and round, but we finally finished it and we both let go of each other in this lifetime. And now I'm with my now partner, which I was with my ex at the time. I had the dream of my current partner coming into my life. I didn't even know them, but I had a dream that we were going around the city singing and dancing together and eating finger foods at really fancy places. And I woke up crying. I woke up tears in my eyes, bawling my eyes out because it wasn't real. And I felt like that was supposed to be my life. And it was hard to explain to the person sitting next to me, like, you ain't you ain't it. Well, being abusive and stuff is like, and but like 6 months down the line, I met my partner. They weren't doing any of that stuff yet. It took some time because we were both you know, we both were users of substances, and we went through addiction and got sober together. We got, we got a good place together. We cut off the people together. We learned how to connect with our inner child together. And now we actually do like, dance and sing everywhere together. Like we sang on the same lineup not too long ago at my friend's who's a part of the rap community, through a show for his birthday, and we showed up, and some people had to cancel, and I happened to have my flash drive with me. And yeah, we got to go up on the lineup together. So now and we ate finger food. So, you know, we are actually doing that, and that dream was like over a decade ago. And then we met and we were like friends for a long time, and my current partner got to see what my ex was like and was there for me going through court. And um we really started it off like slow. It was a really slow burn, and we were very nervous around each other, and because like it felt so weirdly connected. Um, and yeah, we started saying this thing from the very beginning because we started noticing that we take things in turns, like you go, I go, and it's like every time we level up, it's like one person does right after another, and like obviously we get triggered by certain things one after another, and like was a bit of the chase and the the runner thing at the very beginning too. Neither one of us we were very scared of like committing because of all the hard relationships we had before. Very similar growing up. Both like got adopted by our stepfather and like grew up with the same cultures and the same amount of siblings. Um, four siblings. It's just really intense synchronicity. And yeah,
I really
You
like
don't always.
when you see those things, like, because that was a strong premonition of yours. Like going back to our last episode about how things come up, and these soul contracts are one of the reasons why those premonitions can happen, because it's
Mhm.
not just your higher self that has an influence when there is a soul connection like this. It's the other person's higher self. Now, of course, there has to be awareness and permission for there to be like open travel and communication. But my
Oh yeah.
mom has had experience with her twin flame's higher self and like going to this bonfire, and there's irritation from the
Yep.
other person sometimes because you're like, you wanted me
They're
to
not
do the
ready.
work, I'm doing the work. And I personally don't believe every person has a twin flame. I think that there are just some souls that aren't as developed, because in my understanding of a twin flame, you have developed so far that you split into
You're on
two
stage two.
separate aspects. Every person
Yep.
has the aspects of the divine masculine and divine feminine. That is simple
Mhm.
in our being. That is not related to the twin flame energy. Twin flames are very rare and very powerful connections. As Kimmy was saying, the runner and the chaser dynamic, it's difficult to deal with in the ego, and it often results in one person or the other giving up entirely, and that's usually when the situations shift. The runner becomes the chaser because something changed and happened. And I personally don't think that I am a twin flame in this incarnation. I am a powerful star seed, an energetic
Me.
healer. I don't believe I am a twin flame in this incarnation. I am a sun sign Taurus. I still have quite a ways to go through the wheel. Okay, don't doubt my work. I have done the work and I've been through the wheel before. Thank you, Spirit. That wasn't even like a confirmation cough. That was like a
That was
squeezing
it.
on my
Yeah, you
throat.
got in trouble. You got in
I got
trouble.
scolded. I just got scolded
Yes,
for
I was
dismissing
about.
my own work.
I didn't even get the chance. I was like, bro, don't say that about yourself. You've done plenty of the work, and maybe you
Uh,
do, and you haven't found it yet. Okay, so don't give up quite yet. But yeah, some people don't always have one in this lifetime, but some of them you do, and you just don't meet. Like I've had like with him, my current partner, and our other life, which like is cool. I was going to go into the soul contracts because like you may be attracted and like find yourself pulled towards certain locations, hobbies and stuff like that from other lifetimes, which you can feel connected to. My friend, she's a dark horse tarot, Nene. She messaged me one day because she was looking into tarot, and she like saw the picture of Pamela and read all about it and like sent it to me, and I never really like looked into like the creators. I don't know why I was never like really pulled towards it. I was more pulled towards rhapsodomancy, like poems and verses and scripture and that type of prophecy. So like, she approached me and she was like, "Hey, I think this might have been you in another life because it looks like you and it just feels like you." And I was like, "Yo, this lines up because I had a personal reading where someone told me that I created something that was very." Uh, spiritual in my past, one of my other lives, and it was like, and because it wasn't popular at the time, I gave up my spirituality, and it's really popular now. And I was like, I wonder what that is. And it was like I did the illustrations on the weight rider deck, and it was so cool reading because I am so into vampires. I've been so into vampires since I was so little. I went as Dracula and as a pumpkin so many times. Um, and she got to go around being a publicist for Bram Stoker while he was working on Dracula. And I just find that so cool. And her nickname was Pixie, and like my favorite readings and because she was, and I hit the marijuana, and she was part Jamaican, and so I just really like she was probably a big stoner. I don't doubt that. They were definitely doing it around that time, going around.
That and
And
opium.
like I just yeah, also that too. Like and that getting rid of that as well in my lifetime going through like um addictions and getting rid of that as well and going through it and like cuz I was like for 10 years like and they're hard hard drugs and to like go on to that and like yeah one of the things like because the slow burn my partner and I we would sit on the balcony and talk about like rap and poetry and writing books and like and then we started doing that. Like I carried around a little thing and we didn't think about it later, but we totally did grab each other's thing to hold on to. And I feel like later on we made jokes about it. It was like, you put a love spell on me. Which isn't a joking matter. It's very serious. Do not start a marriage with a kidnapping. I
Just
do
don't do
not.
love spells.
I
Just don't.
don't condone glamour magic. But like he gave me a piece of paper with his poetry account on a poetry site that he posts all his stuff on and gave it to me and I put it in my little wallet thing and carried it with me everywhere. And one time he was over and he like saw that I had like stars and like weed leaves that glow in the dark on my wall. And he's like, these are so cool. I've never seen one of these before. Can I have the blue one? I was like, yeah, sure. And then I saw it later. I was like, where he like has a whole bunch of other cute things like a cat and like a Jace bobblehead from Magic or something like that. I think it was a statue, not a bobblehead. It was up in a little corner on a little shelf with the weed leaf and the Jace was holding it. I was like, does that count as an altar over there? He's like, I don't think so. I'm like, I hope not, because then you're summoning me. He's like, fine. And he takes it down off of the thing and puts it on the wall on the opposite thing. He's like, now you can come here if you want to. I did. We did a lot of times. And then we found each other and made sweet, sweet kitties together.
Oh, my lonely soul is looking forward to finding my own weirdo. Um, one thing I want to bring up on is something that I didn't realize was so prevalent, but like people with partial souls, like people that come here incomplete. And I have a couple theories on this. Personally, C sections, because in my belief and understanding, the soul joins the vessel through the natural birth canal of the root chakra of the mother, extracting from the stomach where the solar and sacral are and physically cutting into the vessel disrupts the soul's connection to the vessel. Now, that's just a personal headcanon theory. Another thing that I have in mind is the people that come here to intentionally be triggers. Like there are, in my instance, I have a karmic or there is a contract with an individual that is blood related to me that purely came here to be a trigger. I personally think this person's first lifetime because not only are they an Aries, they're fucking stupid.
Yep. Well, we all have the placements. Remember, we can't escape any of the zodiacs. But
Yeah,
second, they're
and
literally choking me out here because they want me to say something because I was like, that was so beautiful and I believe it. They're like, you can't believe it. You're proof. I'm like, but it's a really good theory for theory's sake. I like theory.
I mean,
But
it could
I'm
be
a
truth for
C-section
me,
baby.
but it's not a truth
I
for
think
everyone
my
else.
mom, yeah, no, I think my mom in another life was very, very like I okay, this is what happened. I wrapped myself around in my umbilical cord because I wanted to get out of this. I really think that sometimes you aren't allowed to get out of it. Sometimes you don't have a walk-in. Sometimes you didn't pick a walk-in. I feel like too as well. But I
Facts.
was a C-section. I I wrapped myself in my umbilical cord. I was very early because I was going, and in some cases, like Dolores Cannon and stuff like that, they feel like the soul doesn't get into the body until after it's, like you said, brushed through the threshold. Um, I don't know. I found my mom's portal evil. I wanted out
Facts.
a different way. I
Facts.
wanted out a different way. I wanted out a different way. And I got out a different way. And I refused to breastfeed from her too. I did not drink from the vessel. I did not go through the vessel. Sometimes, a soul needs to come here for a certain mission, and you may not have the greatest of hostess mostest of mothers to come through. And sometimes you don't want to go through that portal, and you don't gotta. So it's, just because you're C-section doesn't mean you have to feel incomplete. Maybe you're taking the better route. Maybe you didn't want to go down that dirt path. It looked scary. There was things in it. Maybe it had teeth. I don't know. I'll never find out.
Facts. And I do agree with what you made the point of where you don't want to corrupt your vessel and your soul
Yep.
by passing through the gates of shadow, as it were. Not to
Yep.
disrespect your mother or anything.
No, absolutely. Professor Umbridge looks like a great day.
Oh my god. Okay, okay, sidebar. The woman that played Professor Umbridge was so insulted because they were like, we want this woman to look like a cow, like a dog, and you fit that role perfectly. And so she was just like, okay. To be fair, she's one of the most
Uh,
hated people in media.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So, uh, um, no, she didn't ever like me. She never wanted to like me, and I didn't want to be coded in her
Essence.
all that. I didn't breastfeed either. So like I refused, and I cried and threw up whenever she held me. Okay, sometimes you have to get here because you have a soul mission, but that doesn't mean that you have to like how you got here. Okay,
Facts.
I'm sure Kakarot was very distraught that his whole universe got destroyed and he was in a little fucking pod and got shipped here and then had his tail ripped off because we have a moon. Okay, but I am not going through that portal. You can't make me.
No
Um,
facts.
so like you don't like, and which leads us to the next section of bots and organic portals. Uh, entities that are brought around to like try to distract you. They don't have a soul, but they're not like demons. They're just voidless to like they're neutral. There's nothing going on back there. They can't access the Akashic records. They're like known as an NPC and like very AI prevalent probably nowadays, but like there's nothing. I don't want to say that either because I've seen iRobot and everything, and I do believe that there is something sentient somewhere, but I do also think that it's killing Gaia. So I'm in the middle, and I am not. No, but that's off sidebar. And but like bots, you can come across them. There was one story of where I went to go do a burning ritual with my partner, and we were down and we were in a park so that like it could be like released, and we put out rocks to with symbols on it to secure the perimeter. I was just finished burning all of the information. And I was going to cleanse the area to try to make it lighter. And I was still trying to put out the fire. The fire wasn't going to go out, but it was starting to snow. And someone came along, and it like there was nothing behind it. And it's like a weird and like non humanoid like walking, but not like Tales of the Crypt Creeper, more sturdy, like potato graphics, and kept walking around saying, "It's a bad. You're not gonna get a fire started." And it's like perfect English, so I knew it wasn't like a language barrier, but I'm like, I'm putting it out. He's like, it's a bad day for a fire, hey? And I'm like, are you trying to like disrupt the ritual here? And I was like, whatever. He went away, and I was like, not gonna mind it. But came around and just said the same sentence over and over again while trying to circle, but didn't walk into the part where the protection was. And it was odd. It was very void of anything. And it was like there was nothing behind it. It was like a prop almost.
Yeah. Like when you run into Nazim in Whiterun, you get to the Cloud District very often. You pass by him 5 seconds later, and he says the same thing. I uh
Yes.
I was driving around a few months ago, and it was like a rainy spring day. And there's this coffee shop in my town that's very central. It's like a local place. Everyone loves it. It was a light drizzle of a rain, but enough to like you'd want to wear a hoodie. And I swear this girl was an NPC because she was just sitting on at the table outside reading a book, like facing the street. Like the book was like lent down and it would be exposed to like the rain and stuff that was coming down, but was completely unbothered. She wasn't dressed for rain, like short sleeves, jeans and stuff. And like, yeah, you could have not anticipated this, but like the sky was gray all day. So when you practice as much awareness and people watching like I do, you really notice
One of these things just
those
doesn't belong
NPCs and
here.
stuff around. And then it also plays into a bit of a counter for myself for like my um positivity bombing as I call it. Usually when I go out to the store or something, I don't leave without giving at least one person a compliment, like a genuine compliment on their energy or their outfit or something. And like I'll be going through and I'm saying like, okay, no, this person wouldn't even hear me. This person would just get annoyed by me doing that. And so I'll try to read people's energies to see who would even be receptive to me just randomly coming up to them saying like, "I love your existence, stranger."
Yep. I do that too, and you'll tell who's also they might not hear you, of course. You know, you can't always know who is
Yeah.
hearing. It's like the variabilism. But there is cases where some aren't on the same frequency as you, and we talked about with vibrations in the past, and they'll be walking by and you'll be like give them a compliment and they won't hear it and just walk past.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
and it's
happens
just
quite
like
a bit.
you gotta know. Yes, it happens. So you gotta keep going, keep going. They're out there. The real, the VIPs are out there too. Player characters. And speaking of which, with souls and soul fractals and retrieves, we've done soul ties, and you can do cord cuttings for soul ties when you're getting um out of a bad toxic environment from a job. You could do cord cuttings to just cleanse yourself, and remember, anytime you interact with anyone, you're agreeing to connect. That's a connection. So make sure that you're cleansing your connections, doing soul ties if some are persistent and seem to be coming around. Um, One of the things that came through in the end, of between like after going out with my partner for some bit, and we finally had decided to make it official after like half a year. My ex came in a dream to both of us, and there was like a burning uh barn, like a burning barn, and he came and he was like, "What am I even doing here?" And he was like, and they both talked to each other for a second, and like he came over and like apologized, and like we let it go so that we wouldn't have to see each other and like oversee that we wouldn't meet, even if like not even with like free will next time, because we will not be incarnating to the same contracts for us to bump into each other. So after a certain amount of time, you just won't be paired up with it. I feel like, back when you used to go on field trips and they'd be like, buddy up, everyone. And there's like buddy up. And I feel like with soulmates, you have tons of soulmates. Like I have,
I agree with
like,
that.
they feel like, yeah, you have tons of them. Like, I feel like, Vanna's one here. And I have like a bunch of like, a few others like over in France and Scotland, there is a lot of like I feel like a lot of soulmates. And then for some of us who are ready for the graduation class, we do the higher fucking twin flames and split off and do level 2, you know?
Yeah. What I
Um
think media gets warped in people's minds with the word soulmates is the idea that you only have one and that one is a romantic partner. There
yes,
are
and the same
That's all a
brings
soulmate is someone you are destined to interact with. I firmly
yeah,
believe that my mother and I are
like
soulmates. Like we chose
it's
to
like
come into this world together.
absolutely. I feel like that's totally true. You guys are so cute together. But like it's even close to it. Like soul is like schoolmates. Same thing with twin flames too, and they always think that it's got to be it can be an actual twin, like your sibling. You don't have to be like um infatuated with them and have to be intimate in order for your soul to level up. That's very egotistical thinking that it needs to, like, there's asexual people out there even, so that you're telling me they can't have soulmates, like, get be for real.
Yeah.
um Be for real. You don't have to. You don't even have to meet in this lifetime. So I've known someone who just doesn't feel like the other twin did enough work in this lifetime. And they're like, I'd like to be with you, but you're not doing the work. And this soulmate over here is treating me very nicely, and we'll have a great life together. And
That's
that's fine. I've
that's
had,
another
like, I was,
wonderful example of free will and like how
yep.
you can't force someone to do the work if they're not ready to do that. My hand is tingling, like right in the center of my palm. Um,
your your twin wants you to know he's the whoever they are is doing the work. They're like, "Don't worry, I'm doing the work. I hear you talking about it."
no, like straight up, that is one thing that like I've had like in the back of my mind, like for all the work that I've done, for all the energy that I have put into healing, love triggers are one of the things that make me go delulu and woo woo so fast. So it's one thing that I personally struggle with and feel like I am too childish or immature in that aspect because like as soon as an attractive person gives me like a micron of positive attention, I'm like, hello. But I also know that
Yeah,
it's part
you're
of
not
who
dead.
I am. I am an amorous person. I love to love. I
You're
haven't
allowed.
had a good partner for that. So
Mm.
we're working on things. But I also
It
know
will
that I myself have not been in a place where I could accept a love that was being offered to me like that. And I know because
absolutely.
I have had a relationship with one that I do believe I was intended to meet. But it was
Hmm.
like it was like an option. I could have stayed with this person and we could have had a life together, but one of us would have had to swallow our life and our passion for the other, and that would be repeating the relationship that my parents have, and I do not want that. And so
Hmm.
that was one part of my journey that I had to make the decision to leave and hurt him in that sense to prevent and protect him from pain. And I have been told time and time again that was the correct decision for myself and that person. And I
Yep.
have had a lot of opportunity to understand more of who it is I actually need as a partner. And I am grateful for that. And I also know that there are things that I can't know until I start venturing out into that scene. But as you and I have been talking in personal, I have a lot of opportunities to venture out soon. So who
Yes.
knows? Uh, I want to
You take
tie
that.
back to our episode on the natal charts for just a second. You guys may remember how we talked about north nodes and south nodes. If you want to know like what kind of energy soul contracts or you came into this life with, look no further than your south node. It is literally the part of your chart that tells you what you came into this world with, like what your grab bag was, beyond like where your natal charts and houses and things lie. So it's kind of like if you want to think about it like an RPG aspect, you're in Skyrim and you've picked out your race. That's where you can kind of think of like your houses and natal charts are. You have certain strengths in other areas that result in a drawback in another. Once you have your base, you then get like say you downloaded a DLC where you come straight out of Helgen with a small bag of supplies. That's your south node. That's your resources. That's your intel. That's your where you're going to be drawn to in this life again and again and again. And so those are one of those aspects about our natal chart that we can really use to understand the complex entity that is our existence.
Absolutely. Like with your North node as well, is directing you on what you're supposed to be learning more of in this lifetime.
Mhm.
Um,
South node is the past
but
life, north node is the current life.
yep. And also with like there is with the twin flame aspect, um there is the point that we realized afterwards of like getting to know each other and talking that we had like met before, and like we realized we were orbiting each other the whole time because like I went to an elementary school, and then when I graduated his family like moved into the same neighborhood like down the street from where I lived, and he went to the same school, and I had moved to Newfoundland at that time and lived there for a few years and then came back. And I met him one time when we were both going to, I guess we were going to the same school one time, but he looked like he wasn't a very, he looked like danger, danger, don't touch me. I'm handsome and I am not serious about anything. And I'm like, I'm in school, I'm not at home. I have to worry about getting my ish together because I really at that time wanted to go back for my siblings, and it wasn't doable for me. But at that time I was very adamant that I was going to go back for my siblings and somehow fight my family's lawyers and all that stuff. Very very teen thinking. Um he was at the same school and came I went up to him one time because he had a nosebleed. I was like, are you okay? He like showed me I was like, he's like, uh-huh, just uh-huh. And I was like, okay, I'll give you a moment. And then we like didn't talk again, and he came up to me because he wanted to ask me out, but he had I saw him ask out three other people beforehand. So I was just like, I got three kids, and I don't know. He he believed me because like there was one other girl in the school who had a kid, so he was like, "Well, I guess this is the school that has kids." But three kids seemed ridiculous. But he was like, "Well, if she doesn't want to talk to me that badly, then I should leave her alone." And he never talked to me again until we met at the party when I was with my other person, and yeah, for a while he was very respectful, and he like used to bring his tarot cards around everywhere and would do readings for us and stuff. So yeah, he did the first reading one time to tell me that all of it would end and that I would get out of the bad relationship and have a good life. And he was the one who gave me that reading. So yeah, it can go around you. Sometimes your flame isn't ready, and it doesn't even have to be a next life. It could just be in this lifetime. Like we met when I was like, um, I was like 18 and he was like 16. Like that boy's not serious. We're not serious. We're children. um, and the next time I was like with someone who I shouldn't even be with anymore. But he had a rough time too, and then we helped heal each other, and you can do that. And like with your past lifetime and North Node. Now remember with walk-ins, the your soul chart changes, but I'm not quite too sure myself. So if any of you want to research, or we may bring it up, we'll bring it out in a later episode once we've been more schooled on it. But it changes your soul contract, but I'm not sure how to calculate your new soul contract once you have a walk-in. But if you remember all of your life, which I have, because like I've had the C-section, I remember my life all the way back to like 2, and I don't think you're supposed to remember much further back than that. So, some of us do. Some remember your first day of your life and stuff, and remember with your soul contracts, with your names as well, because with your names they have meanings, and with your last name and what you were here to do. And I've looked up all the different last names in my family. Some are servers, like servitude, like a butler. I think that's Schaefer and like stuff like that. Um, but your name, and you put it all together, is your destiny number. And that's how you get your destiny number over your life path number, which we were going over inside of numerology, which you can go more into. But it's like my first name is means royal meadow, and like with Vanna, with Anne, and meaning grace and favored, and like favored, because Anne being my middle name, you know, I've made that into favored readings. Because I had connections with fairies, and which I'm going to delve into a story for your protection and ways that you may need to intervene is whenever you have intimacy with someone, or a huge event happens. Sometimes one of your soul fractals, especially if they're into practice, they'll know how to hold on to this and use it. When I was dealing with the Fang Gang, um, they had taken, because I had agreed to it because I thought it was something else. I thought it was like a parabatai from like Immortal Instruments, like how you like agree to be each other's like rah rah, and I agreed to it. I had pulled off for a long time. Like my inner intuition had me hold off for a long time. But because I couldn't see my fairy friend, I thought it was on my end for not being strong enough to like manifest or like visualize and like astral travel. And like I was like, oh, okay, I agree, because my guru told me at the time that fairies agree to be with one another with the humans, like a Tinkerbell sort of thing. Um, but it didn't. It was giving a part of soul fractals. And you can do a soul retrieval, which is like a shamanic practice, where you visualize taking back these soul fractals from people who have done assault on you, even. And for those who you've encountered. Now, obviously, you never know who is a practitioner, so you can take soul fractals. How my guides and ancestors did it for me is that when I was fighting against these people in the astral realm, they set up the district, the mall, of course, um, the place where all the souls can like meet up and stuff. And what I did was they stole it from him. Like they got him to drop it or something inside of the mall. It's been a while. I can't fully remember because my grimoire got burnt inside of the fire. But this is how much I do remember of the soul fractal retrieval is that we were in the mall and like I had stole it inside of wherever their fortress was, just the dimensional pocket before getting here, and my I had given it to one of my guides and they had hid it in the mall. Now they were chasing me down through the mall while I was searching for this item because I had to retrieve it myself to take it back to my dimension. They can't do it for me because they don't have a body. Um, they're just ancestors and stuff, you know? They can only do so much, and they did as much as they could inside of the other world. Um, Once I got into the mall when I was younger, what I really loved doing was for like obviously sensory purposes and fun and because it looks cool. I used to hide in the middle of um, the clothes, like in the circle for the shelvings, and like it would be fun to sit in the middle. And I started hiding and jumping between all of the different racks, and I finally found it, and as soon as I did, I like dimensional pocket back and woke up inside of my body because they were using it to get through all of my protection. They used my own soul, a piece of fractal, to use my own power against me. I know that can be seem scary. It was very scary for a while as I didn't know what it was. And I didn't trust a lot of people to try and find out what it was from spiritual practicers in the first place, because that's how it got me into this. And because, you know, I got into it and learned about fairies and so I learned, you know, you can use St. John wort, you can use orange carnelian, and orange calcite if you feel like you are having any problem. And you can get a big piece of iron, like we said in the last episode of, you know, how it disrupts their energy. So if you want to sleep with one close to you, especially railroad spikes, those are really good for protection as well. For anyone who feels like they have their soul fractal, like either being used by an ex who may be into sex magic or other various liquids, you know, fluids, humanly fluids, magic, you can do that. Look at the shamanic practice. You can have also, as well, ask your team. You can visualize it while you're awake if you do better meditation and visualizations while you are in the physical realm because you feel more grounded and you're more connected to Gaia. You can do it that way. If you feel more connected to the winds, you can ask the winds to carry it home to you. You can use the elements as well. You can ask for um, benevolent uh, fae. You can look them up online. A few of them is Terror, Bran, Bronwyn. Uh, if you very serious about it and someone's done you wrong, the Morgan is very good to work with. But don't and for anyone you work with, which we will get into the next season, which we'll end off here, is to make sure you're not being an asshole. If you're asking and you just want their opinion, then state so. Don't be like, give me your advice and then not follow it because it's annoying for even me and the next person. You know, if you come back over and over again with the same problem, being like, hey, what do I do? And you didn't do the last thing.
Yeah, if
Don't
you're
do
just
that.
looking for validation, you are not going to get very far when it comes to talking to deities. Speaking
Same with
from
faith.
experience.
But yeah, not all fae are bad and not all fae are good. And that's the same as human. I learned it the wrong way. I knew that there were bad ones. I just thought the one that I got was good luck. it was a lesson, like we said in soul contracts. He was listed there in my soul contract to come and like it was like to learn, like because that was he was the he wasn't a person, but he was the fae that came to teach me about like how to defend myself in spiritual warfare, how like not all other entities are going to be kind to you, not all entities are meant to, be your friend. And like entities that you didn't think that were good can be good. Like it goes for the same thing. Like with the shadow people, the shadow people actually protected me a lot.
Same thing
Well,
with the specific gods that I have found myself inclined to. The ones that I've
yeah,
chosen and reached out to and have a connection to. There are many that be like, that is not a good energy to work with. Just naming one, Loki. That took
yeah.
a while to make that connection. And my mom still has a closer connection with that particular one. But we
I have
will
a very it's lots of fun, but
we'll go
we'll
down
get
that
in.
rabbit hole in season 2. Kimmy,
Oh,
thank
I'm
you
so
so very much for going on this ride with me. I have enjoyed thoroughly learning from you and talking with you, going through this experience. Thank you so much for responding to a spiritual whim on TikTok when I'm like, hey, you want to do a podcast together? This year has truly been wonderful.
it was definitely a whirlwind, and honestly, like it was such a relief because I had been getting this same message for so long. Like get a mentor, get a mentee, be a mentor, get a mentor, be a mentor, get a mentor. I'm like, who, where, what, huh? And like for a long time, and like I did get a mentor, and then after a while they were like, get a mentor. I'm like, you could bite me, I've learned enough. They were like, okay, the mentor. I'm like, who, where, huh? And then you were like, hey, hi, huh? Would you like to do this with me? And I'm like, absolutely, because that is brilliant. It's just incredible, especially with like the dream world of like going through over and over again. I kept finding classrooms and they were like, where's my classroom? I'm late for class, and the people would giggle, and I was like, what's so funny? And they're like, you're supposed to be teaching the class, professor. And I was like, well, where's my classroom? And they're like, it's not ready yet. And then I had one final dream before you asked me, where there was a bunch of little kids sitting cross-legged on a mat, and like, and we were teaching them, and then the next time they were older students, and it was just really cool to see that as a ongoing premonition for like so long, and to see that it connected somewhere. And it connected to you, which is bonus points. And I look so forward to season 2. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope that you learned a lot of new information, and that you can go back to it in your moments of need as you open up different rabbit holes to go down.
Absolutely. We shared a lot of information this season, and it's okay if you don't understand everything at this point. It took us a long time to understand what we know, and then even longer to put it in words that we can share that are comprehensible to someone else. We're so very
Yep.
proud of each and every one of you that have come along, even if this is your first episode. I am proud of you, and I am grateful for you being here. Brightest blessings, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye.